to Houston Real Estate Radio. I'm your host, Shannon Register, and every week we bring you news and information you can use on your real estate transaction. But this week we're doing it a little different because we are heading into the Halloween holiday. And, you know, it's a lot of people love Halloween. I'm amazed at how many people love Halloween. I love Christmas. Christmas is my thing. But a lot of people love Halloween. And so many people have parties, costume parties, and so much fun stuff going on for Halloween. I hear about more parties now that I'm adult than I think I did as a kid. But so we're going to make it fun today. We're going to talk about something that, you know, you may really have a great interest in and you may even have a need for. So we're going to talk about something very interesting on the show today. If you've got any questions or any comments about anything you hear today, you can always call us 281-882-8088. And if you tune in late in the program and you want to go back and watch it online, or if you're watching it and you got to get out of the car or something, you can always find the rest of the show at HoustonRealEstateRadio.com in HD videos. All right, James Sangster is on the line. He's actually Skyping into the studio with me. James is the founder and director of Houston Ghost Research. He is talking about the paranormal and how to deal with a house that you have that is haunted, because apparently there's some folks with some issues out there, and he is your man when you've got problems. All right, James, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing this morning?
Doing good. I want to talk about what exactly you guys can do to help people who are having problems with ghosts.
Well, we've got a pretty good team put together. We primarily focus on using mediums to go in and evaluate a property or a house, find out what's going on, and then establish some kind of contact with whoever or whatever is causing a problem. And we kind of look at ourselves as conflict negotiators or conflict resolution experts. We talk to both sides, the living and the dead, and try to get everybody in a happy place.
So because you've seen people who are ready to pack up their house and put it on the market and sell it, right? And so you're able to come in and kind of help them to be able to deal with whatever the situation is so that they don't have to pack up and move. Is that right?
Oh, absolutely. I would say probably most of our clients are on the verge of packing up or selling the property. A lot of them are to the point where they're all sleeping together in the same room, in the living room, because they're just afraid to be in their house.
Wow. So the things that are happening to scare these families to the point to where they just want to move out of the house, are you able to resolve it to the point to where they can go back to living normally in the home?
Yeah, most of the time we can. We've probably got about a 90 to 95% success rate, maybe even higher than that. I haven't looked at or put together numbers, but yeah, we can almost always resolve the problem. If not by communication and just talking it out with the entity, we've got other measures we can do to fix the problem. So
tell me, what do you do? What do you do? How do you communicate with these ghosts to get them to, let's say it's not, let's talk first. I know there's all different kinds. So let's talk first about the friendly ghost. You know, the one that I want in my house is the one we were laughing about this earlier. I want the one that's OCD, that when I come home every day, the house has been cleaned. Right. But let's say you've got the friendly ghost that just does things around the house, moves things, and you just feel these weird things going on in your house. So just a friendly ghost. How do you communicate with them, and what do you do to fix it and get them to quit driving people crazy?
Well, a lot of times they'll try to communicate with the homeowner or whoever's living in the space via dreams. They're always trying to talk to you, and on some level they are talking to you, but you can't hear them. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times they get frustrated, and then they escalate their behavior to try to get your attention. And that escalation of behavior is what scares people. Coming home, and just like in Sixth Sense, we had a client in Baytown who had a very friendly ghost of a kid, actually, who was just really frustrated, and they would walk into the house and do something and then turn around and all the cabinets and drawers would be open. So that's very alarming, and they were scared out of their gourd, but it was just a kid trying to communicate.
How do you find out that it's a kid and not an adult? Like, how do you find that out?
we've got some really interesting procedures that we use with mediums. What we'll do is we'll do some remote readings based off of pictures and photos that we have the clients send us. So we don't tell our mediums anything about the case. We just send them photos and we tell them, here, what do you get off of this set of photos? And we treat all the mediums independently. We've got 3 or 4 of them that we work with. Then we'll put all the notes together, and most of the time they overlap a lot. Okay. So whatever they overlap on, we consider that a hit. Then if we can't establish some sort of remote conversation with them, because a lot of times we can just pull them to us and have a conversation with them and the client. If that doesn't work, we'll actually go out there with a medium and try to pull up whoever's causing the problem and have a conversation with them. That usually resolves it a good 80% of the time.
So this paranormal activity, what are some bad cases you've run into? Some of your worst ghosts you've encountered?
Well, some of the worst cases we've seen have been people who have crossed over or died, and they're just mad. They're really upset. They're angry, and they're trying to lash out. So those people can be abusive. They can hit, scratch, punch. They can throw things relatively easily. Sometimes they even try to take over people. We've seen just regular human ghosts try to take over kids and people who live in the home. That can be pretty dangerous.
Do the ghosts ever follow people out of the home? So let's say a family lives in a home and they're being tormented by these ghosts in the house, so they pack up and they move somewhere else. Do the ghosts ever follow them?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It depends on... don't think of them as ghosts, even though we use that term. Mm-hmm. Think of them as people, because most of them are people. So if they want to stay in the home and they're upset because somebody's in their home, they'll probably stay there. But if they're interested in the people, they'll follow you wherever you go. They're not bound to any geographic location. So then,
how do you get them to stop their bad behavior? How do you get them to leave the people alone?
Well, that's kind of a long, drawn-out discussion, but we have methods that we teach our clients that are relatively simple. Anybody can learn it. We usually describe it as taking a spiritual rolled-up newspaper and just whacking them with it until they decide to behave.
Okay.
that almost always works.
Okay, all right. So what's some of the worst behavior what's the worst case you've seen? Can you tell us about certain places, houses?
Sure. Probably the worst case we've seen in a while was one of our more recent cases. It actually wasn't local. It was in Seattle, and there was a non-human entity. Some people might call him, a demon. I don't like using the D word because people get really afraid when you start throwing around terminology like that. But it was definitely a really quote-unquote evil guy who was there to do harm, and he had attached himself to a little boy, and the kid was having some really serious health issues because of that. He had lost the ability to walk, and he was having some really serious neuromuscular issues, and despite his parents exhausting every medical avenue, they could not figure out what was going on. So we stepped in, identified the problem, and we were able to remove that entity attachment from him, and the kid started recovering.
Wow. So how long did that process take?
Just a couple of hours. It's an ongoing process, but the heavy lifting when we have to set up to do that doesn't take all that long. We have a couple of priests on staff that can handle stuff like that when it gets serious. It's important that the client do follow-up care, and we coach them and train them on how to do that to make sure nobody else can encroach on their space. But it's not a difficult process, and it doesn't take too terribly long.
Wow. All right, some scary stuff. We're talking about the paranormal here on Houston Real Estate Radio, getting ready for Halloween. All right, we're going to be back here in just a minute here on Houston Real Estate Radio. You can find us online, HoustonRealEstateRadio.com. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.